A prayer of Moses, the man of God. Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You turn man to destruction and say, Return, O children of men. For 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it is past, and like a watch in the night. You carry them away like a flood. They are like a sleep. In the morning they are like grass which grows up. In the morning it flourishes and grows up. In the evening it is cut down and withers. For we have been consumed by your anger, and by your wrath we are terrified. You have set our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your countenance. For all our days have passed away in your wrath. We finish our years like a sigh. The days of our lives are 70 years. And if by reason of strength they're 80 years, yet their boast is only labour and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. Who knows the power of your anger? For as the fear of you, so is your wrath. So teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Return, O Lord, how long? And have compassion on your servants. O satisfy us early with your mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days in which you have afflicted us, the years in which we have seen evil. Let your work appear to your servants, and your glory to their children. And let the beauty of the Lord our God be upon us, and establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. Pressing the reset button. Some media commentators have noted that the Earth seems to be pressing the reset button during the coronavirus crisis. The absence of the human race from public space has allowed the space to be occupied by other living things, dolphins, swans, geese, and also allowed recovery of fresh air and clean water. The carbon emissions targets, which governments had been incapable of delivering, are met at a stroke. While it may seem to some that this is a kind of impersonal Gaia process, in reality there is an unseen hand behind these things, a person who is communicating clearly to us. More than 3,000 years ago, there was a group of people who were brought into a place of isolation, the wilderness of Sinai, in which, having been taken out of Egypt through the Red Sea, they wandered for 40 long years. Their leader, Moses, is described at the beginning of Psalm 90 as the man of God. And in this psalm he provides a reality check for the people he has been given responsibility for. It is in the form of an open prayer to this unseen person, to God. It was posted on social media, the Bible, for all to read and learn from. First of all, we read, Lord, you have been our dwelling place through all generations. Moses begins by describing God as a home, a dwelling place, a very poignant thought for a people wandering in the desert. But this dwelling place is not to be found in a cave or a tent, for it is a place not just for those wanderers, but for all the family of God and all their generations. You may remember the Pepsi Cola slogan, "Come alive with a Pepsi generation," suggesting it was cool to drink Pepsi as part of the new generation, instead of those tea-drinking fuddy-duddies of previous years. When this slogan was translated rather poorly into Chinese, it read, "Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the grave." Now that would really be a challenge for the manufacturers. But not for God. He is a dwelling place for all generations, those past and those to come. Moses is giving these wanderers a reminder that God is eternal. He predates the mountains, he is older than the hills, and every generation can come alive through him. He provides them with a home. From everlasting to everlasting, you are God. This home, where all generations can live, is not here, because God is not limited to space and time, even though we are. Indeed, he's not limited in any way at all. He is God. This is an important reality check. Our generation tries to understand our place in the cosmos, but we need to recognize the author of the cosmos in order to do that. If I wrote this article without putting my name at the bottom as the author, you would think that strange. But would you think that the words just emerged by spilling Scrabble letters on the floor? No. You would instead ask, who wrote this? And so it should be when we look at the cosmos. Who wrote this? Moses prayed, "You are God." He confessed it and encouraged the people to do so too, because there is an important reality check coming. You turn men to dust and say, "Return, O children of men." The reality is, we are not God. We are mortal. We die. We return to the dust of the ground from which we were formed. The government pronouncements at present, instructing us all to stay at home, are wise and prudent. It is really vital for the Pepsi generation as well as for the older generation. But one argument being used is definitely not good. The sooner we do this, the sooner we can all return to normal life. But what if the unseen ruler is at work? His command, "Return, O children of men," means that things will not be the same. Our own mortality, or that of others we know and love, will mean there will be only memories of the past for some, not business as usual. Should that depress us? No, but it should wake us up. It should bring us to life and to the source of life. We need to press the reset button, not just go back to normal life. You have set our secret sins in the light of your countenance. Pressing the reset button, what does that look like? The unseen ruler sees us and all that we are, all that we do. Whether we're in the desert of Sinai or in flat 2B Airy Hall Crescent, Glasgow, everything is known to him. He can see it when we blatantly seek our own pleasure, ease, or protection. Who can escape his all-seeing gaze? Answer, none of us. There's no point pointing the finger at others, because there will be three pointing at us. This is not a counsel of despair. It's a counsel of hope. Alcoholics Anonymous has a better track record than most rehab organizations, and one reason is that they major on acknowledgement and openness. We have to accept responsibility or ownership of the problem, not just blame others, the government, Donald Trump, mum and dad, our children. Moses, the man of God, prays for himself and his people. So teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. A simple but profound call to be taught by this unseen ruler. That would be pressing the reset button for individuals, for families, for churches, for communities, for nations and governments. He is giving the earth a year off, and we can see this time as a Sabbath as well, a time to reflect and to look upwards and downwards, inwards and outwards. Oh, satisfy us with your mercy. Now this is where faith comes in. Not faith in ourselves, but faith in the promises of God. Faith in a person who sits on the throne in heaven, but came to earth to die on the cross of Calvary, that we might receive mercy. Moses, though he lived more than 1,000 years before Jesus, knew that the foundation of God's mercy was to be found not in his prayer, not in his bold leadership, but in Jesus the Messiah. He provides the basis for reconciliation with God and with those around us by taking the wrath of God upon himself. He provides the basis for the reset button. He's unseen, but he has prepared a dwelling place, a place that all who know him, all who come to him, recognizing that he is God and not us, may come and be at home. Knowing him and being part of his generation changes everything. Let your work appear to your servants. Coming back to the family home can sometimes give us homecoming blues, as we see the debris of childhood gathering dust around our aging parents. But it becomes a more inviting prospect when we're forced into separation from our loved ones. Then perhaps we can see that God is still at work in our parents, giving them a new lease of life as they get over the empty nest and pursue new callings. How much more is this so when we consider the dwelling place of God? If we come there, we will see things from a whole new perspective. We will see the glorious things he does, unseen but forever at hand. Moses' prayer, and mine, is that the readers of this piece will go and listen to and speak with the ultimate author of Psalm 90. And doing so, press the reset button so they can see and participate in his work. His office is open 24 hours a day. Andy Vinten.